Hey girls, before we jump into this podcast, I wanted to tell you about Church Girl Conference coming up this May. And to honor you, our podcast listeners, we actually have a special promotion going on, Church Girl Pod, for $20 off general admission. It's happening right here in New York City, and it's going to be some powerful days in God's presence, messages. There's also going to be some breakouts that are going to equip you for living out your real life wherever you are and whatever season you might find yourself in. More importantly, I think there's going to be friends that you're going to find for the journey. It wouldn't be the same without you. May is the perfect time to be in New York City anyway. So do me a favor. Listen to this podcast, of course, but register for Church Girl Conference. Go ahead and go to churchgirl.com or the links below and get your ticket today. I hope to see you there. Okay, welcome back to the Church Girl Podcast. My name is Kristen Wilkerson, and I'm your host. I'm so excited about today's conversation. We've got two of my very favorite people in the world, none other than Kindra Daniels. Hey.
Hi.
And Libby Abston.
Hi.
They were like, what are we
Never,
supposed to do? What are we
Said hello.
You know what? I wanted
No,
you
I
guys
loved
to
it.
just have
I
a
loved
moment
it.
to connect. Okay. But today we are talking about something that we think is going to be fun. We hope it's going to be fun. And we are just going to let loose. We're going to just talk about all the things. And I liked the idea of calling this conversation, Stop Calling Jesus Your Boyfriend.
Hot take.
Hot take. You are not dating Jesus. I can't tell you how much I've heard this before, and I get the sentiment.
Right.
What is the sentiment, though? Help me out here.
I feel like the sentiment is supposed to be, well, the idea I think comes from is the fact that you should be so rooted in your relationship with Jesus that your future husband has to, seek Jesus in order to find you. That's
Yes.
like the good idea.
Really?
Yeah,
of
that's
it.
like the core.
Yeah.
I've always felt like people say it when they're like taking a break from dating.
Okay.
I do too.
Yeah. Or maybe like secretly, this is a really hot take. I'm not trying to come for anybody, but like I feel like people say it when they're like too actually nervous to put themselves out there
Mm.
and date properly, maybe because of so much of the stigmas around dating and Christian dating and all of the things. And so I feel like it's such an extreme response. And you say like, oh, well, I'm just dating Jesus instead.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a cop out.
I'm not trying to be judgmental, but that's what I feel when people say that. I'm like, well, maybe you're just not putting yourself out there.
I think it can be a little bit of both. I think it's probably a little bit of both. So Kindra is so sweet because she's like seeing the heart in people.
That's
like,
the,
what does that make?
That's
Like,
the
so nice.
healthy idea behind it.
It was just very wholesome.
It was so sweet.
A wholesome response.
That's why we're on this podcast. We're balancing.
Yeah. But I do think that it is also like, usually it's someone who's maybe just gotten out of a really bad relationship.
Yes.
Or someone who's kind of been dating for a while and they've been kind of burned and hurt. And they're like, you know what? It's kind of like in the worldly sense, people would be like, I'm just working on me.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like the Christian version of, I'm just working on me.
Which I'm just working on me is an okay thing to say as a Christian. Maybe we should just say that.
I do agree.
That's a good go-to.
What about dating me? I'm dating myself.
I think it's
I
cheesy.
have heard that too.
I think we
it's
should
a
never
little
stop dating
cheesy.
ourselves. I think we should date ourselves no matter what
does that
season of
mean,
life you're
though?
in. That just means like not waiting for someone else to get you flowers if you want flowers. Like not waiting to go to a restaurant for someone else to take you. Not waiting to dress up or,
Yeah.
look nice because you don't have a date. Like you
love
should
that.
always treat yourself well. But I think
Self-care.
but I think if you're dating yourself to the point that nobody else can date you,
Yes.
then we got to like reel it back and like find some balance here.
Yes.
Yeah, then it's like, what's really going on behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know. I mean, I've been out of the dating game
For a long
for
time.
a very, very long time. In fact, we were laughing about it the other night. I've never been out to drinks with someone.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, because I stopped dating before I was even 21.
Yeah.
Like
So
I've only
crazy.
dated my husband before that, 19. I had Chick-fil-A dates in high school, maybe
Oh,
Starbucks, but still, right? It's so different. So like, I don't even know that world, and I feel like, I don't know. I mean,
I think we all have 3 different perspectives here.
yeah,
You,
it's a
tell
whole
us
world.
everywhere where everyone is on this journey,
you've been wifed up since you were 19, essentially.
essentially.
Yes.
I definitely spent my 20s single and dating in New York City and got married at 29. And
I
so a
love
few
that,
years now
Kindra.
in my 30s, I've experienced my 30s married, but I was single all throughout my 20s.
Why did I
Yeah.
not know that? This is
Yeah.
wild. I'm learning so much. I am 29 and still dating. Yeah. Dating in
Dating
my 20s.
Jesus?
I would
Yeah.
never say
Are
I'm
you dating the
Jesus.
Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
Yeah. Yes, obviously. I have to say that. Just kidding. No, I would never say that.
And
I
why
think
would
it
you
would
never
stress
say
me
that?
out. That's just not my flavor. I'm not. Yeah, I love Jesus. I love the Lord. Now I'm like, where am I going with this?
I think
I just wouldn't. I just think it's a little cheesy. I don't like all the extremes like
Okay.
that. Like I
Yeah.
just think like let's just be normal people.
Yeah.
to anyone who has dating Jesus in their bio, we apologize.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we
so
love you, church
maybe
girl.
we cut every part of me out of this podcast.
No, this
And
is very
Kindra,
helpful.
take the lead.
No, but I think it only becomes problematic when you are over spiritualizing getting to know people and like dating.
Yes.
I think we definitely should seek God on who we should marry. I think we should seek God on who we should date seriously.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to seek God if you should go out for coffee with the guy who from the church lobby who asked you. Like
Come
just
on.
just go get
Yeah.
coffee. Like
Yes.
it's okay to be nice and meet people. I know I've heard some people say they don't want to date. And when I say date, I mean like hanging out with someone, getting to know someone. I've heard people say they don't want to date unless they're dating their husband, and it'd be really nice to be able to just skip to the good part.
Well, wouldn't that be nice to know? Like,
but-
how are you supposed to know they're your husband? It's not like they come with a sign.
And if you're approaching a first date with a
Yeah.
guy who's genuinely just trying to get to know you
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he must be your husband, that's not a fun date
No,
for,
that's
for
a lot of
anybody.
pressure.
Which also,
It's a lot
by
of
the
pressure.
way, Jesus never called us to date him. Like, he believes in marriage between man and a wife. And I'm sure, I don't know how dating worked back then, but it's not like he's like,
it was courting.
thou shall date me. You know? I just think it's just an interesting, I get the sentiment behind it. The whole idea of like, I'm going to take time for myself and better
Yeah.
myself, this whole language that we have around like single and secure, I actually really do believe in that.
Yes.
But I just wouldn't be the one, I'm like defending myself from earlier. I wouldn't be the one to say I'm dating Jesus in my bio.
Yeah.
But
You know?
what if this is a season of healing? Like, what if you recognize, like, okay, I've only dated really poorly in the past. I've never had a godly relationship before.
Right.
Now I'm new in my walk with God. Maybe that dating Jesus season is getting to know,
Your
I'm
relationship
defending the
with
girl, you know,
Lord.
getting to know your relationship with God and like trying to set new standards for yourself so that when you are ready to go out and date again,
Absolutely.
you can, have a better filter.
I think that's so healthy. I think that you like always need to have your finger on the pulse of that, because dating can be very fun in the right context, but I think each time you kind of come out of it, like whether it's just like a couple dates with somebody, or maybe it's like just very casual and you're just dating somebody. I'm trying to find a way of saying like you're doing dates with different guys often, like, but I think it's good to have a finger on the pulse of after you come out of that every single time, like how do I feel? Like how does this make me feel?
Yeah.
I once had somebody tell me, they asked me like, "Are you dating right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm like dating in New York City. It's so much fun. Like just casually meeting people, grabbing coffee, nothing too serious." And they're like, "Well, yeah, as long as it's fun for you and not overwhelming." And I thought, in the moment, I was like, that's such an interesting thing to say. Like, I'm not overwhelmed. And then later, I was even telling you this the other day, after doing like a season of months of dating, I came out of it and I was like, I actually am overwhelmed. Like, it is really overwhelming to keep dating people that, like, on the very first date, within 20 minutes, you're like, oh, like, I'm glad we're here and I'm glad I said yes. But this is just not it. It becomes, I think for me, I always feel a responsibility for those person's feelings, probably in a healthy way. Like I
But
want to
that's
just let them know.
nice.
Yeah.
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 should.
But I think it's good to like keep a finger on the pulse of how you feel.
Yeah.
And I know girls who like just never come up for air. Like
Yeah.
it's serious relationship after serious relationship after serious relationship and toxicity after toxicity. And it's like, at what point in this process were you supposed to get to know yourself or learn about yourself?
Or even do like a little bit of a debrief.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I
Yeah.
was just in that. I don't know. What am I going to learn from it?
Yeah.
You know, and I think you're right. It
Well,
can go from one to the
yeah.
next.
If
to the
you
next.
come out of a breakup or ending a relationship and all you learned was something or things about the other person, you did dating wrong.
It's good.
Dating is for you to learn more about yourself, what you want in somebody, the areas of your life. I mean, we just went through a series in relationships at Trinity, New York. But you and Taylor sat down on Sunday and you talked about how marriage is a mirror. And it showed you so much more about yourself than it did about your partner.
Right.
I think dating is the same. I think that you are supposed to learn. And that's why I think it's so difficult when we make dating this huge thing. Like, oh my gosh, you have to only date who you're going to marry. It's like, well, that actually sets you up for this perspective that dating is all about the other person. Dating is about you. Relationships are
Yes.
about you. Marriage
Yeah.
becomes a mirror about you.
Yeah. And let's
That's
be
great.
honest, it's a lot of pressure.
It's too much pressure.
Whole culture is too much pressure, you know, and we always say that dating is about evaluating.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Dating is about evaluating. It's not about deciding yet. That's
Mhm.
when you get to you've already had some dates. You've already evaluated. Now I decide if
Mhm.
this is going to be a relationship, you
Mhm.
know, but it's you have to have that period of going, who are you?
Yeah.
Who am I? Do we work together?
Mhm.
Do we have the same vision? Do we have the same goals? Like, do you love God the way that I love God? I know
Mhm.
your bio says this, but like, what's the real thing?
I know
Like,
your bio says you love to date Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you actually?
But do you actually do you have depth?
Yeah.
You know, like where are you in your spiritual maturity?
Yeah.
And I think that dating is not flippant. I will say that. So
Right.
I like your perspective. I think it's a good perspective. And I'm not saying I'm disagreeing. I am agreeing with you. I think it's good to have fun getting
Yeah.
to know people. I don't know that I would call it dating. Is more what I'm saying. I'd
Yeah.
call it like I'm getting to know different people.
I think there's
And so I know
dating
that's
and
like
then
a
there's in a relationship.
It's semantics.
Yeah.
Like to me, dating means like we're dating.
Because
That's
you
exclusively
dated.
dating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that language to me, we're talking semantics.
Yes.
But for me, it's like, it's kind of like friendship. Like
Mhm.
essentially what you're doing is
You're
saying,
getting to know
hey,
someone.
I want to go out for coffee. Yes, the intent is more than friendship,
Yeah.
right? It's like, do
Yeah.
I want to get to know you more than this? Oh, I really don't. Like,
I really
we're not dating.
would prefer not
We're
to.
not dating.
And I think women would enjoy dating a lot more if they would treat that outing, that meeting, the same way they would approach hanging out with a girlfriend. Like,
Yes.
do you want to hang out with this person? Yes or no? Are you interested
that.
in
Oh my
hanging out with
gosh,
them?
yeah.
Do you want them to be a part of your life for a long term, or do you want them to be a part of your life for
Great.
a season? And I think that when I met my husband, I was actually in a really healthy place of realizing this date could be my husband or it could be absolutely nothing. And I'm
Yeah.
like down for whichever way it goes. And I was also so authentically myself
Yeah.
that I really was like so good with me that I could care less about
Yeah.
being rejected by somebody because
Yeah.
I had done compartmentalizing
Yeah.
myself in the past and said I was never going to do that again. So I was just like, hey, this is me. Like, we're at a show. I want to be at this show. I think you're cool to be at this show with. Let's see where it goes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Talk about that because that's like a freedom and a confidence of like
Yeah.
really knowing who you are. And I think what you said something about like you're doing, what'd you say? Something about you're doing dating wrong. If all you
Mhm.
learn
If
is
all
about
you
the other
learn is-
person,
Mhm.
you're doing dating wrong. So
Yes.
you had done it the wrong way, you know,
Mhm.
a bunch of times. And you were like, no, like I'm going to know who I am. Like, what was that like though? Like going on that date and like meeting Jamel. Like, I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
so
because that was not too
sweet.
long ago.
Yeah,
really.
it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because, well, prior I have to give a little bit of backstory quickly. So two guys prior to him, I was like dating someone who was not, he was spiritual, wasn't a Christian.
Hmm.
It's not going to work. Not going to work. Don't do it. So I was dating someone who was spiritual.
Yeah, wait, let's stop there. Don't do it.
No, don't do
Don't
it.
do
I
it.
If
can
you
say
want
that
to
for
have a
fact.
Christian marriage, if you want to have a
Yeah.
godly relationship, don't date someone who doesn't want the
If
same.
you want to be led, period.
If you want to go north, don't drive
Yeah.
south on the FDR.
There you go.
Okay. So dated someone who wasn't very spiritual. And then I like boomeranged to the other way and was like, this guy's a minister. So that must mean that he's my husband. And like,
gosh.
also a guy can be spiritual without, you don't have to be a pastor's wife to be in a godly relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went the other way. But actually, I realized how much God was actually protecting me because it was really just a friendship.
Mm.
And during that time, I was actually able to grow closer to God. I was actually able to focus on myself. I was able to remain pure. And I was able just to like heal, you know?
Yeah.
And then I remember feeling like, okay, like that friendship was over. And I was like, I'm ready to cut my light on. Like,
Mm.
may the best man win. You know what I mean?
I
I felt like I was just like
love
ready.
That is actually
May the best man win.
incredible.
So and then around that same time, met 3 guys. I had
Wow.
the
Little bench
the
going.
football player, the what was the other one? The designer, which is my husband, and there was someone else who had another nickname who I can't remember right now. And
This is great.
I feel
these
like
are
I'm on
3
an episode
people
of
I
something.
was very, very casually getting to know. And Jamel quickly rose to the top because he made everybody else look so lazy. They were just being lazy. But I remember going on to the date where I was really just like, I'm good. Like my light is on. I know God has called me to be a wife. Like I know my man is on the way.
Mhm.
And I'm really good with me. I've compartmentalized myself in the past. Like I said before, I'm not going to do that again. And I'm just like, this is what it is.
And didn't that give him probably permission to be himself too?
I think it does. I think when both people just
Mhm.
like drop the facade, it allows you to actually grow a friendship, which is
Mhm.
what you want to do. You don't want to just present your like best self to somebody or your, you know, your interview self to someone and then you don't actually get to connect or get to know each other. We were able to actually just grow a friendship because I was good with me. And I think it's really important to be good with yourself
So good.
before dating because otherwise you're going to take everything that goes wrong as an internal pitfall instead of just like, if a boy doesn't like you, he's dumb because you're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. He's
Well,
not, he's
and
not for you.
I feel like I've seen so many girls make the wrong person the right one, quote unquote, because of this pressure that you can only date your husband.
Yeah.
So then it becomes like this toxic,
Kind of like a trap.
It is a trap.
Yeah.
It's fully a trap. We talked about this the other day. Like
Yeah.
one of my not biggest mistakes, but a mistake I made early on in dating when I was
You were
started
a
dating. I was
child.
18. We dated until I was 22 though. And we did counseling together in dating, which was like
Was it premarital counseling or did you guys have issues?
no, it was like because we were having issues. Which is
No.
so
Break
funny
up.
to think now.
Yeah.
There's a longer story. It's more nuanced. I was
Yes,
going through a lot
yes.
in my life. And so I had a counselor that was counseling me through that season. And then my boyfriend was obviously just a huge part of my life.
Right.
And so then we started like talking to her together. But I just remember somebody saying to me, like, you should be flying into marriage, not fighting into marriage. Like, why are you 4 years? You're 22 and
Yeah.
you're like in counseling while you're dating. It honestly is laughable now. Thank
Yeah,
God.
yeah.
It was grace that we broke up.
But so many people are in that
But so many
situation.
people do that. And I just think in dating, when the writing is on the wall, you need to let it be. Like,
Yeah,
you
for
just
sure.
need to see, you need to let those cards fall where they may. And
Yeah.
I especially love what you were saying about like having this confidence because I think when you have that self-confidence, it just continues to relieve. I literally think of it like as a pressure valve. As your self-confidence goes up, like the pressure in the relationship goes down. When your insecurity goes up, everything in a relationship gets harder. And I
So
think
true.
that's true in dating. I think
Yeah.
that's probably true in marriage. I've never
Absolutely,
been married.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's true in friendship. I
Mhm.
think that's true in relationships in general. And so I feel like confidence is so key. And that's why when you are dating and you're single, you really do need to take, like I was saying earlier, you need to have your finger on the pulse. You need to take those breaks
Yeah.
to be like, what do I need right now? Maybe I do need to date myself, date Jesus, and like take a second to like come back and what do I value? What do I want? Who do I want to be? And then like put yourself back out there. But
Yeah.
I just don't think there's like a truth for your season is your season. I can't tell you where you're at without talking to you. Like we can't just put a general label on what you need in this moment. You
Yeah.
can only figure that out on your own time and with time with God,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think that because you mentioned this, and I think it is helpful for girls to like provide clarity on that too. Of that, hey, like we've been dating for a long time,
Mhm.
and we're having a hard time.
Mhm.
Should we do counseling together? I actually get asked that all the time
Yeah.
as a pastor, and like if I was gonna give a very candid answer, my
Mhm.
answer would be, hey, don't do that
Mhm.
because you are tying your life really and other
Mhm.
trauma, right? Other
Mhm.
things that you're dealing with when you go into a counseling room together and you're getting feedback. What's the feedback for? You know, you
Yeah.
don't really know yet. It's kind of like to hopefully make this work, to hopefully get further along in this relationship.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like you don't actually have a vision for what you want to get out of it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's why I would hesitate to do that. But if you want to come to me personally and get counsel on your relationship,
Yeah.
great. If you but going into the room together as if you're a unit, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you're not that yet, you know? And so I would encourage you. It doesn't necessarily mean like if you need counseling, you should break up. I don't think that actually. I think that you need godly counsel
Yeah.
individually.
That's
you need
great.
community counsel. That's why
That's great.
dating in community is so helpful
Yeah.
because you have other people who are able to say, "Hey, we do know her. She's just acting a little crazy."
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you've got people in your life to kind of
Yeah.
like back you up a little bit or say, "Hey, you've got a blind spot." You know, so that's why isolated relationships are very difficult
Oh my gosh,
to
yeah.
find traction and I think to find health
Yeah.
because if there's a crisis there's nowhere to go except each other. I think
Mhm.
that is one of the worst things that could ever happen in any
Mm.
relationship is we
Mhm.
don't have anyone else to talk to about this. That's really scary. But to go back to just knowing who you are, I think it comes down to this. I think that I personally just don't like the language.
Mhm.
I'm such a big like culture and language
Mhm.
person, you know. So like I just hate it. I hate the language of like I'm dating Jesus or you know, like I'm
Mhm.
you know, this I don't know. I'm just like no, we don't date Jesus.
I think
Like
it confuses other people. That's why I really don't like it. Like I get what you're saying, but
yes.
somebody who doesn't follow Jesus is going to read that and be like, Christians are so
Are
weird.
so
And
weird. Yeah, yeah.
I just don't love that at all.
Yeah, so I like but I absolutely think that the season to really go, hey, I'm working on my identity in
Mhm.
Jesus.
Mhm.
To me, that's so different than I'm dating him.
Yes.
I'm working on my identity. You know, like he tells me who I am, right?
Mhm.
And so that's just a very different kind of I don't know, what would be a better way to say it?
I
Like
think when you were talking about it in the beginning about saying it's a cop out, I think it's better to acknowledge where you actually are in your dating season. And maybe
Mhm.
that's like, I'm actually really discouraged with dating right now. I feel like I've been
Mm.
dating a lot and it's not working out. And I'm really single. I'm in a
Yeah.
dry season. Like, whatever it is, I think it's better to be honest about that.
yeah.
Or I desire marriage right now. I'm hoping for it. I think like putting a label or putting like truth behind where you actually are gives opportunity for God to actually move in the
Mhm.
situation. Because if you want to get married and you're not complacent in your single season, then dating Jesus isn't the way to go because he's not going to marry you. So I think
Yeah.
being honest about where you are is so much better
That's
than
great.
throwing that on top of it.
I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that vulnerability
Yeah.
with others.
And I think along the lines of vulnerability, like that doesn't have to be an answer you give everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is probably more for people who would be like similar into my season. Nobody loves to speak into somebody's life like when like it's always the question. Like, so are you dating right now? And it's like not
Do you get
everybody.
asked that all the time?
Oh my God. It's like, here's my first name. Hi, I'm Libby. Oh, Libby. And then like it's like a few minutes in, you're so great. So are you dating anyone? And everybody's so sweet. Like they're trying to like
I actually love
They
to
got
ask
a
that
cousin
question,
or, like-
but only to people I can
Yeah.
like speak into their life.
I
that
think it's
know.
a
Yeah.
great question. The question actually doesn't bother me, but I think like you don't have to give everybody your vulnerability response as to why you're not dating.
No.
Or if you are, or if you aren't, or if you're seeing people.
So give us some examples, because I do think people are looking for language for stuff like this.
Oh my gosh.
So-
Well, the worst thing you can say, this is actually on the opposite. Don't ever say to somebody, it's like the equivalent would be like telling like somebody who's pregnant like how they look. Like the response I really don't love, and it doesn't bother me, thank God, because I think it would destroy me and I've seen it destroy other women, is like, "Oh, so you're single? So how old are you?"
No.
Well, you have time. You have time. Yeah,
Oh.
you have time. You're this age. And then, yeah, you could probably meet someone within the next year. And then you have a few years to get pregnant after that. I literally had this conversation with somebody who would shock you less than 3 weeks ago.
No.
People just love, but the reason it doesn't bother me
Tough.
is because people speak from their experience. And
Yes.
when you're in a Christian context, it is very common that a lot of the people in that context would have met very young and gotten married very young. I would say that's my experience being in a lot of Christian contexts.
Mhm.
So they don't mean anything by it. I just think people are speaking from their experience, and that's what they had, that's what they enjoyed, that's what they loved. Their life
Yeah.
is great. That's amazing for them. But it's just like we need to really get rid of that altogether.
Totally.
I forget what your version of the question was. How do I respond?
Yeah, what should people say? Like, because you said, I don't think you need to be vulnerable with everybody.
Yeah.
What's a great response for you're like exactly what you're saying. You're in
Yeah.
this season. Like, what's your best response to, hey, like
Yeah,
are you dating
I think
anyone?
right now I just tell the truth, which is like, yeah, I've been dating. It's been so much fun. I don't know how much further I usually go than that, but I'll typically say like, it's been so much fun, not seeing anyone very serious. And then I typically just leave it at that. And if they pry, then I just say like, yeah, no, I mean, I'd be open to a serious relationship, because that's typically people's follow-up question. Oh, so are you not like, you don't want to seriously date anyone? And I'm
And
like,
if they're married, you say, "How is your marriage going?
yeah,
Are you and your
So
husband
good.
doing well?"
Karen, how's
Karen.
your marriage going? No, I just typically say like, no, I'm not seeing anyone serious. I'm not against dating right now. I'm just not seeing anyone serious.
Mhm.
Seriously. Just
Except
haven't.
Jesus.
And there's it. Like, people do love to pry, which I love it about them.
Except
Yeah.
my
And then-
savior.
Yeah, except I'm just dating Jesus. I'm actually going to start saying that just to throw people off.
Just to end
It's
the
the
conversation.
opposite of the podcast. I walk out saying that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm dating Jesus.
I'm dating. We go to her bio
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It says I'm dating Jesus. Okay.
I don't know if that was a good answer.
No,
I
think
just
that's a great
keep it
answer.
I keep it positive and
Yeah, positive
surface.
Not everyone
Yeah, not
deserves
everybody
the
deserves
details.
to know the details. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have our own journeys that we're on. Times are definitely different than our parents' generations.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then mine.
And I mean, you know,
I'm not really.
Well,
a
I
different
think it's actually
generation,
just
but- Back
good
in the
advice in
2000s.
general that with this topic, like you know that the people in your life will speak from their experience.
Yes.
So don't get offended and hurt by a response like that from somebody who's that is their experience. I genuinely think people are being nice. Like, I'm not going to carry that offense
Totally.
with me. That's why it doesn't hurt my feelings. But I've
That's
done the
good.
work to know, oh, well, they're so sweet, but they got married when they were 22 and now they have 4 kids and at 34. You know what I mean? Like,
By the way, this isn't me. I didn't say this.
no,
to
you
Libby.
didn't say it. You didn't say it. You're just the closest example. No, you have not said that to me. But yeah, I think if and when and in the past in seasons where I've had a hard time with dating, not necessarily specifically about that, I'm just very aware of who I get my advice from,
Exactly.
because there's just wise counsel is wise counsel. Like,
Yeah.
you are wise counsel through and through. But then there's just people in my life where I'm like, they've actually done this.
Yeah,
Like, they know what it's
exactly.
like to date in your 20s and
Yeah.
in New York City, in Los Angeles, different contexts than the middle
Yeah.
of,
Absolutely.
I don't know.
and in the
United States.
meantime, get whatever furniture you want. Decorate your apartment
Yeah.
just make it just a man repeller
Wait, where's the
haven, okay?
Just enjoy your life.
Enjoy your life. I mean, my pride and joy is watching my friends who are like established in the career. They're not in their like, brokey 20s anymore. They've got money in their beautiful
Living their
apartment.
best life.
Right. Their
Because
one bedroom.
I have to compromise,
Yeah.
My husband,
Yeah.
is Afro-Western a style? I don't know. I think it's his aesthetic because
Jamel is so cool.
He is
No, he
cool.
is so cool and he's so nice.
and he has very specific
Sweet.
Facebook marketplace pickups. And I have to compromise because I'm not in my single era. So, hey, just enjoy where you are. Trust
I love
God
that.
for the season of life that you're in. And I think when you trust God and you have confidence in that, then other people's comments can't shake you because you know God's got you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I like that. I love what you said actually because it's a very gracious response. Because we could have a whole other podcast about this. Actually, maybe we should, like how to respond to people who give you,
Well, and how to look for advice. This actually
unsolicited
could.
advice.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that everyone speaks from their experience.
Yes.
Everyone.
And their anxieties
It's the lens.
and their fears.
It's their
Stress.
worldview.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. It's just not fair to be so upset at people who speak from their experience. You can correct it.
Mm-hmm.
You can think, man, I wish they had done it differently. You know what I mean? But like, we are so blind when we're like, oh, I don't see anything through my experience. Of course, I have a well-rounded world, view, and every response I give is perfect. And so we just have to be a little more gracious because sometimes in the church, it's not even just someone's experience, it's someone's season.
Yeah.
Right? Who knows what season they're speaking from?
Yeah.
Whether it's a season of pain, season of betrayal.
Mhm.
Think of all of the different like frames you've had in your life that have like shaped your responses.
Totally.
I think about it. I had a friend recently who was like, I don't know. I was probably my daughter's going to be 8 this year, my oldest, and I think I gave someone some advice, some parenting advice, asked for. I think it was asked for. Okay, parenting advice probably 6 years ago, and they're like, "Yeah, you taught us that." I was like, "I did?" They're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I don't even do that anymore."
When Nora was 2, you had one child.
Like,
Yeah.
Of
several
your
more
4.
children
Yeah.
later, I disagree.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't even do that anymore. Like, I'm always changing. And I said that, and then I was like, yeah, I like that. I like that response. Like, I'm always changing.
Mhm.
I'm always, why? Because I'm always learning.
Yeah.
And what I thought I knew at 24, moving to New York City,
Yeah.
just married to start a church, and what I thought I knew, 2 kids, 3
Yeah.
kids. Like, think of all of the different stages of life you've been in the middle of COVID. Think of how we were speaking from such confidence and like conviction. And then you're like, huh. Like,
I don't really know.
that way.
Yeah.
But God bless, And so I just think it's, we can always give someone grace.
Yeah.
On those seasons. And I think that when we're talking about the sweet girls who might be watching, who are saying, I'm dating Jesus, we are not cringing.
No.
We
I feel bad. I
for
went
you.
a little hard.
We would love for you to not say that anymore.
Maybe this
No.
podcast is for you.
But we understand that maybe you've been in a season, right?
Yeah.
And you wanted to have the best response for where you are. And our encouragement to you is just, hey, you can be vulnerable. You can have a great polished response for people you don't need to be vulnerable with. You can be confident in who you are and show up just knowing like this is who I am. Like, what are some of our other takeaways that we're saying?
I loved what you said, Kindra, about obviously having self-confidence, but then also talking about just being honest with yourself about where you are. I thought that was so good because we gave such different spectrum responses. Like yours was a bit sweeter and mine was a bit more harsh. But like my interpretation really was like, well, you're just not being honest with yourself. You don't want to get out there.
Yeah.
Which maybe that is true for some of the people who are watching. They're
Right.
just, it's a cop out. But maybe it's also true that like you do need this season to reset and grow in your relationship with God. So I think the key really is like the only way you can know is self-reflection and being honest with yourself about how you feel. And I would say, this is kind of adding on, but I would say like that is just a constant conversation. Like you
Yes.
just have to it's not, you cannot prescribe, kind of how you
Yeah.
said, like, I'm always changing. You cannot prescribe one feeling and one response to the entirety of your dating experience,
Mhm.
whether it's 6 months or a decade. Like you just need to be a little bit more gracious with yourself about like
Yeah.
changing your mind and how you feel, but check in with yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
And I also love what you said. It was a passing point, but I think it was so important of not trying to make the wrong one the one. And often out of fear of being single,
Yeah.
often out of thinking like maybe this is my chance to get married, or maybe this is, I mean, I think often the root of all of that is fear. And if you really do trust God with your life and with your timeline, then you can let go of the wrong one without feeling like it's the end, because you know God has better for you.
Yeah.
Very good. So many good takeaways, so many good nuggets. You guys are the best.
Oh,
You
we
are.
love you.
You guys are the best.
We love you
This
so
is
much.
fun. This is a really fun
I
conversation.
love it. A little unhinged.
A little
there for a
unhinged.
second.
But what did we expect?
We reeled it back in.
Nothing
Yeah,
less.
it's great. But thanks for tuning in today, Church Girl. Make sure to share this with a friend, like, comment, all the things. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.